Go make that stuff. The manifesto is this: draw the art you want to see, start the business you want to run, play the music you want to hear, write the books you want to read, build the products you want to use, do the work you want to see done. Hello everybody, welcome to yet another episode of the Skeshbook podcast. We are back again and I am going to be posting a podcast every single week, and today we're going to talk about what do you do when you don't know what to draw or don't know what project to create, don't know what kind of art you want to make, don't know the style that you want to pursue, don't know the kind of work that you want to put out in the world. What do you do? Well, I am thinking about a framework that could potentially help us all, and that is what I'm going to talk about in this podcast. So yeah, let's jump into it, shall we? So this podcast is heavily inspired by the book that I'm reading, which is called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon, right? I love this book. I also love his other books, Show Your Work. I've probably made a podcast on that. And also have one of his third books, which is Keep Going, right? I like his stuff in general, right? So one of the problems that I've been facing, or like in work in general, is when you sort of don't have people watching the work that you do, you're just free to create whatever you want, and you have that authenticity and honesty within your work. But as you sort of gain some notoriety for your work, now by the way, I have some little notoriety for my work, thankfully, right? But what happens when you start going in that direction, you start to form insecurities within you to some extent, and you are like, I want to make work so that other people like it, other people see it. I want to make work that other people will enjoy, right? There are so many pitfalls to that, especially when you are an artist. I heard a quote by David Bowie. I think he's a musician. I don't know who he is. I think he's some legendary musician or something. I haven't heard his stuff before, but I heard him say this, which was, creating to meet the expectations of other people is a very bad idea for an artist. And when someone does that, they often end up creating really bad work. And I feel I can sort of relate to that because that has been one of the problems that I face. Anyways, let me get to the point, which is, what is the solution to that? How can we sort of overcome this problem? So the solution to that is this little manifesto, right, in this book called Steal Like an Artist. I love this thing. Go make that stuff. The manifesto is this: draw the art you want to see, start the business you want to run, play the music you want to hear, write the books you want to read, build the products you want to use, do the work you want to see done. I can attest to this so many times. Like whenever I have in my life when I've followed my likes and wants in art, not in business. Business is a different thing. In art, when I've done that, I've often, had lots of success. And business is a different thing. I want to sort of also talk about art and business, both two things at the same time, right? So the solution is basically writing the book you want to read. That is a solution right there. Meaning, what kind of stuff that you want to see out in the world, but it doesn't exist, and can you go make that stuff? That is the whole point. So if it's books, art, products, businesses, things, go and make the stuff that you want to see done. And if it doesn't exist, go make it, right? If it does exist, or if it exists in similar ways, ask yourself, what can you do better, right? That's one of the things that I'm thinking about. I'm trying to think about a framework of sorts. So first of all, why do you have to create the work that you like to see? First, why, right? Number one reason, art is like a personal expression, right? It's not technique. It's about what you want to talk about and what you want to share. This is one of the biggest things I've realized in the past few years, which is art is not about drawing, right? It's not about drawing. It's more about what you want to draw about. We were just watching a short film in the studio literally an hour ago, and we were just talking about how most of the short films that are coming from the film institutes and film schools are short films about students going through the journey of studying the craft of filmmaking. right? It's all about like, hey, the life of a sound engineer, the life of a director, the life of a cinematographer. Their films are not about, what do you say, like random story that you would never come across, right? And came to sort of understand that this is happening because most people sort of focus on the technique of making the art, but not focusing on the thing that they want to make the art about. What is it going to be about? What is the story? What things do you enjoy? What things do you like? For me personally, right, lately, it has always been business, philosophy, and being self-improvement of sorts. And I'll not sugarcoat it, right? I like to be a better self because I have too many insecurities, just like every other human being out there on the planet. Maybe there are some of you out there, probably Buddhas. I'm not one of them, but yeah, you get the point. So, right, I'm trying to. I wouldn't say too many insecurities. Yeah, like average, normal human level insecurities. I shouldn't play myself down too much too. That's one of the things I'm working on. Anyways, right? So these are the stuff I'm into. I want to make art about stuff or art about that stuff, and that is what I've been doing, or that I am going to do, which is take on an art project right up next after this, which is 100 days of sketching and 100 days of making comics. Within that 100 days sketching, and I'm going to make 10 short comics about stuff that I am genuinely interested in, right? Like super short comics. I don't want to take up a too large of a project which I know that I cannot finish, or start small, complete it, and see. But not too small that it's slightly inside my comfort zone. I want to pick something that is outside my comfort zone and get that thing done, right? So back to the point. First, why do you want to make art or work that you want to see, that you like? Because one, it's about your personal expression. Art is your personal expression. It's not about fulfilling the expectations of other people, right? Or it's not art. I mean, we can get into a subject or a debate on what is considered art, right? For me personally, I don't consider technical craftsmanship art. Meaning, are you good at drawing super realistic kinds of drawings? It is art. It looks artistic, but it is not art if you don't have the little story in it. Example, two films. One film is a summer blockbuster about random things that you always have seen. Another film is about something that you've never seen, a personal story or a personal idea or something the director wants to communicate, right? I would consider the latter art, the former lesser forms of art. Doesn't mean it's not completely art. Now, the thing is this, I'm forming my ideas on this as we speak, as we sort of go through all these things. So I could be wrong. I could come out in a couple of years and say, hey, I'm wrong, right? So, but at this point in time, I have found that art is personal expression, right? So that is one. Number two is, I think I've pretty much covered why, yes. Now, the thing is this, art versus business. Business, what I've learned, is not about yourself, right? It's not about you at all, right? Business is the complete opposite of art. To some extent, it is service. Business is about serving other people. This is one of the problems that I've faced in my YouTube channel. At the start of my YouTube thing, YouTube was all about what I want to see, what I like doing, what I want to watch. Then later on, as I start to really gain an audience, I was like, man, I want to serve these people. I want to help these people. I was like, I want to serve. It's a good thing, right? It puts you in a lot of good positions. But what also happens is you fall into the trap of asking or trying to know what other people like and catering your work to that, right? You don't want to do that. You often lose yourself in the process of doing that, right? So, yeah. So that is a thing. So now there comes the solution, which is, how do you do this? How do you make the work that you want to see? What are the actionable step-by-step things, right? So how do we do this? Instead of asking how do we do this, I'd like to ask the question of how not to do this. How do you screw this up? How do you mess this up? How do you not create the work that you want to see? Here's how, steps. Ask and listen to what other people want to see from you, right? Cater to the expectations of other people. That's a surefire way to create work that you do not want to see. Not engage in things that interest you, right? Do not engage in things that interest you. If you do that, you might end up creating work that you like. Don't do that, right? And three is look for the popular trends that is existing out there and create stuff based on that, right? So is it the new kind of trend, shorts, reels, if you're like a social media person? Or the new kind of art is like the anime girl art, that you post on Instagram, or capturing your inking things and showing a reel of it, or creating cute things on your iPad. I don't know, something like that. There's a trend, and you sort of try to, get on that trend and try to do that, right? Now the thing is this is not to say that you will not gain notoriety. That's not what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to say put people down who are doing this. I'm not trying to judge people. I really don't care, right? What I am trying to say is from a personal perspective, right? If you do not want to like your work, or like your work lesser, maybe it's not a binary thing, right? It's whether I like my work, whether I don't like my work, maybe it's a little lesser. You don't want to cater towards the trends, because it's often dictated by the expectations of other people. You want to see what you can see, and what you can create, and what you can explore, and what you can show or put out in the world, right? That is the thing. So don't do that, right? Or do that if you want to create work that you don't want to see. And finally, ignore things you genuinely like in favor of what you think other people like, right? Most of the times we create work for other people, and most of the times we think they like it, and most of the times we are wrong because they don't like it, right? You often, what happens is, I've had that phases in my life. It's like, oh, if I put this kind of artwork on Instagram, I get more likes when compared to this one. Or if I do more these kinds of videos on YouTube, I get more views compared to this one. It's just not good, right? For example, this podcast right here, I've stopped doing it. I was like, what's the point? It's too much. Maybe I don't want to do it. Maybe it's too much headache. I don't care, right? Or I want to entertain people. Then I realized I just love blogging, right? I just love cataloging thoughts, ideas onto a blog or a website, and creating these podcasts and putting it out there, and putting myself out there, connecting with a small set of people, talking to them individually. If you're listening to this podcast at this point in time, you and I might have a connection. I don't know, something like that. It's nice. It's nice to talk to you, right? It's you and me, and that is nice, right? It's not me versus hundreds and thousands of people. Hopefully I don't lose this perspective. That is another thing. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this podcast. And I wouldn't be doing this if I think like, hey, a podcast gets 3,000, 4,000 views. Why should I even do this? Yeah, right? But I want to do this. So that's the thing. So this is how you not create work that you like. Ask and listen what other people want to see from you. Don't engage in things that interest you. Look for the popular trends and create stuff based on that. And 4, ignore things you genuinely like in favor of what you think other people like. These are surefire ways to create work that is dissatisfying for you, and also possibly when work is dissatisfying for you, it will also show, or that emotion will also be transferred to other people in your art, because art is what? It's extremely personal. So, how do you do this thing? Do the opposite of all these things. What are those? Right? Don't listen to what other people want to see or get from you. Create work that you like. And how do you do that? Engage in things that interest you. Right? Animation, cartooning, filmmaking, philosophy, tennis balls, cats, dogs. I don't know. What kind of stuff are you into? Get into that. Right? Engage in things that interest you, and don't look for popular trends and create stuff based on that. Look for things that you think would create long-term value in your body of work, right? Maybe that's not the right solution. It's a decent solution at this point. And finally, don't ignore things that you genuinely like in favor of creating what you think other people will like. So create stuff that you like. Actionably, how do you put this into step by step? Look at the world around you, the work other people put out, the experiences you go through. Take little things that you like from each and every single thing. For example, I like exercise, fitness. I like a little bit aspect of the gym culture. I like that. I'm going to take a little bit of that, put it into my work. I really like filmmaking. Take a little bit of that, put it into my stuff. I really like philosophy, myths, stories. Take that, put it into my work. I like cartoons. Take that, put it into my work, right? And combine all these things and create something that does not exist and adds to the culture. So one of the mistakes I used to do is just, especially when you're a beginner artist, you do it and there is nothing wrong with it, right? It's good to do it, right? But don't steal and don't copy and call that work your own. So don't do two of those things. But other than that, it's fine to look at other people's work, study it, and find your own voice. That is normal. So one of the mistakes, though, beginner artists do, or one of the things that I have done, is often just create a mashup of other people's things and create such a mashup that it's original but not too original, right? It just doesn't speak, right? So, and the way I have found is this: you don't only create something that is different, which is what I used to do. You also create something that is new and that adds to culture, right? So that is the point of all this thing that we're doing in the world, in art, in work. I know, have you heard of research scientists? They don't research stuff that is already existing. They research new things that does not exist so that they can add to the knowledge of their field. And that is interesting, right? Andrew Huberman, right? I've been listening to that guy's podcast a lot. He's a neuroscientist and they do research, or he's in that sphere of people who does a lot of scientific research where they try to add to the body of knowledge in that field. Try to do that. I try to do that with art and cartooning. What kind of things can I add to the body of field of cartooning and knowledge? And that means I need to first get over the basics, the fundamentals, and then after that, then I need to research into the unknown and find new things and bring it back so that other people can use it. They can be better than I am, and then they go out in the world and create more new things, right? It's not to make their life easier. It's like to make their life easier in this section so that they will go and make their life harder by trying to find new problems and bigger problems to solve, right? That's how you grow as a civilization. That's how you grow this world, right? That's what I think. That's how you change this world even, right? Anyways, going into a rant. This is the idea, right? So make stuff that you genuinely like and do it. And I want to end this podcast on a little quote, which is this, by Brian Eno. I don't know who he is, but this is a nice quote. This is the quote. My interest in making music has been to create something that does not exist, that I would like to listen to. I wanted to hear music that has not happened yet, by putting together things that suggested a new thing which did not yet exist. So that's the deal, folks. That's the thing right here. Go make your stuff. Go make your stuff. Make your things that you like. Action step after this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're this long in, here's a call to action. Write down a project that you want to do. Work on it for 100 days for 6 minutes a day. Any project. And here's the thing. After 100 days, that time is going to elapse either way. How about that time elapsing by you putting in 6 minutes of work each day? So this is what I am going to do. I'm just not going to talk the talk. I'm going to walk the talk, or walk the walk. I don't know what does that say. So yeah, that's the deal, folks. I'm going to work on my comic. You work on the thing that you want. Let's all go make stuff that we want. Make the world a better place. We'll leave it better than we found it. That is it for this episode. I'll see you guys next week with a different idea or a different thing. Or let me down below in the comments what you want me to talk about. By the way, if you're this into the podcast, leave the word cadabra and write down the thing that you want me to talk about in the next podcast or on the future podcast. And that means I will give special priority to you, because you listened to this long, right? I love you for that. Thank you. Yeah, I'll see you guys in another podcast. Bye bye.
Grinding, money on my mind, and I'm headed to the top. I won't stop until I find it. Write my name in diamonds, but all these lights are blinding. I wonder, is it worth it? Feel like I'm losing my